Hello and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm joined today by Olena Vynogradova. She is an advocacy expert at Right to Protection NGO, based here in Kiev and with offices all across the country. Olena, many thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
The question today is on internally displaced people, often also called refugees, perhaps, from the conflict that we have in East Ukraine. The government, I understand, doesn't exactly like this term refugees. I mean, it prefers internally displaced people. The numbers perhaps up to more than 1.6 million, in fact. Perhaps you could, just to start, give us a picture overall of the situation with IDPs in Ukraine at the moment.
Displacement is a pretty new issue for Ukraine, and it begins in March 2014. The first displaced people from Crimea came to Ukraine, and since then the number reached more than 1.6 million people.
And so this is going back to March 2014. This is probably when we started.
More than a year and a half.
Yes.
And since that time, the crisis even worsened. So displaced people can't come back to their previous places of residence, and still they have to face many problems related to accommodation, to employment, to social things in the territory of government control.
Yeah, so these people, they've left, basically had to leave their homes because of the conflict in East Ukraine, trying to rebuild, you know, their lives in different places. We had a bill in Parliament recently. It passed in the Parliament. It came up with the MPs. The MPs voted for it. But Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, he didn't actually sign it into law. Now, and this bill was supposed to sort of improve the situation of IDPs. Why do you think Poroshenko didn't sign that bill? It's still waiting to go through for a second reading. But what is the delay? What is the delay about? Why are we facing this?
Draft Law 2166 amends the current law on ensuring rights and freedoms of IDPs, and it provides that the legislation related to IDPs should be eligible also to foreigners and stateless people who fled from conflict area. Also, it provides that IDP certificate should be valid for unlimited period of time. Also, draft law says that State Migration Service can check the places of residence of internally displaced people, and also it cancelled the big bureaucratic procedure of obtaining the IDP certificate.
And so this is like for these the IDPs, they come to a new part of Ukraine, they should get like a document to
to get state
confirm their status.
To get state financial assistance to IDPs, they should provide the social security departments with this IDP certificate. To transfer their social payments, to transfer their pensions, they also should provide this IDP certificate. To get health care services, to have places for children in kindergarten and school, they also have to show this IDP certificate.
All these state services. So why has it been, I mean, the government has made it very difficult, hasn't it, for these people to obtain these certificates? Why is that?
Really, now this certificate can be valid only for 6 months, and then IDPs should again come to social departments and reissue this certificate. Then go to State Migration Service and put a stamp with indication of their actual place of residence. And if they do not do this, the certificate will be invalid, so they can't benefit from all state services and payments.
Hugely bureaucratic. And I suppose the situation is not helped by the fact that we have these checkpoints in East Ukraine. We have like a sort of a de facto border there between, you know, government-controlled Ukraine and Ukraine occupied by militants. And often, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we have is sort of IDPs they've had to flee from their homes because of war and conflict. They've come to a new part of Ukraine. They don't always have all the documents that the government are demanding.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't exactly go back into the conflict zone, can they, and pick up some things that they left behind.
Exactly. That's why we introduced this draft law 2166, so IDPs could prove their actual previous place of residence by other documents, not only passport, as it says now in current law, but photos, video records, military record book, labor book, and other things. But as we can see, the president vetoed this draft law, this initiative, so we can presume, we can think that the reason why they did it, put control on the movement of IDPs and not to allow budget funds to...
This is a question of money then, is that? Or there are other legitimate reasons here why the government is being so slow to act? I mean, for example, could we say that they're worried that this is somehow going to benefit militants? Could militants be coming into, mainland Ukraine posing as IDPs, for example?
I mean, human rights defenders are afraid that this is the reason why IDPs also face these things related to control of their movements, because from the very beginning, government introduced the procedure of checking their place of residence. Then it bounded all social payments to IDPs to state-owned bank, and they can't receive government assistance from other banks, only from state-owned bank. And every time all the government initiatives related to budget funds and related to payments to IDPs, they always directed to establishing control over these people, only or over this category of people.
Yeah. Is there something here that Ukraine could learn from other countries, for example, who have had similarly, internal displacement?
Sure. We have, even now in Ukraine, we have many experts from Georgia, from Norwegian Refugee Council, from Danish Refugee Council, who worked in many countries that faced displacement before. And they actually propose their advices, their expertise to our government, but now we can't say that the government accepts these propositions.
No. What about when you actually speak to the IDPs themselves? I mean, what's their reaction to this? Do they, I suppose at first they may have felt that the government's sort of checks and the fact that they were, trying to vet everyone and make sure they didn't give money to the wrong people. I mean, they might have understood that. But, I mean, now, some 18 months, almost coming up to 2 years since this all began, you think that the process would be streamlined. I mean, are they getting frustrated?
Yeah, actually, they becoming more and more desperate from what they see from the government. They have no state strategic document on how to solve the problems of internally displaced people. They can't get good conditions, I mean, accommodation. They can't find jobs, actually. The level of employment among IDPs is much more higher than among other Ukrainians. And they can't see the state support, and we can't see actually all over Ukraine any messages from the government that IDPs need help and host communities should help them, or any kind of such messages.
Well, Olena, I'm afraid on that somewhat pessimistic note, that's where we'll have to leave it because we're out of time. But thank you very much for coming in to speak with us. Thank you very much for inviting again. You've been watching Viewpoint. I've been joined by Olena Vynogradova. She's an advocacy expert at NGO Right to Protection. Many thanks for watching us. Join us again next time.